This next subject is something that sort of touches home with me on a personal level. This discussion is, of course, going to be on finding the right stocks. And I can tell you that when I first started investing into stocks, I knew absolutely nothing about the stock market. Zero. All I knew at the time, I was traveling around with the PGA, working for a sports marketing firm, and all I ever knew about stocks is what the pros were talking about in the clubhouse. Occasionally, I'd hear one of those hot tips, right? So you've heard of companies like Yahoo, Amazon, Qualcomm. All those stocks were being pushed at the time that I was traveling with them, because that was back in 1998, the latter part of 98, all the way up through 2001. And of course, we know what happened in 1999. That's when the tech bubble burst. And so the thing that I quickly discovered when I started with VectorVest, I took a look at the stocks that I had experience with, and I was amazed at what I found out. Yahoo at the time reached a peak of about $246. And in VectorVest, we had the valuation at something like 48 bucks, right? And I said, oh man, I got some stuff I need to learn about picking the right stocks for me. And so we're going to dive into that subject, because one of the things that VectorVest does very, very well is it allows you to cater the system of analysis to yourself. You see, when we start talking about the subject of finding the right stocks, the first order of business is to understand our own unique risk-reward profile. Each of us should have a sense of that, and we feel it down to our bones, you know? If you're still struggling with that concept, we're going to help you a little bit as far as this talk is concerned on identifying what quadrant of the spectrum you might fit into. More importantly, we're going to show you how to utilize VectorVest to cater your stock selection to that portion of the spectrum. So when you boil investment styles down, you generally come up with 4 categories, and I think most people would agree. You have speculators who sort of throw caution to the wind, and they're interested in all the hype and all the news that's happening on particular companies. You know, the cure for cancer is coming out. You have aggressive investors, and they want quite a bit of upside potential in their stock selections, and they're willing to assume a little bit of risk to get those potential rewards. You have conservative investors, and a conservative investor, capital appreciation is king. That's what you care about most. And then, of course, you also have what we would classify as prudent. And prudent in our system, as you're going to learn here on our next slide, is going to provide to you the best of both worlds. And so let's begin to get into our investment matrix and discuss how VectorVest classifies them using a couple of our very powerful proprietary indicators. So here you have an investment matrix, and we have risk along the bottom, and risk is going to increase as you move away from the axis, okay? On the left, we have reward, and reward is going to improve the higher above you go. All right, so let's start at perhaps everybody's favorite. It's easy to understand. Speculative. We said earlier that a speculative investor is somebody who throws caution to the wind. And what that boils down to in VectorVest is you have little to no regard for our fundamental analysis indicators. You have little to no regard for the upside potential, which is represented by relative value. And you have little to no regard for safety, which is represented by relative safety, or RS. And so, again, these are situations where we do have searches in the product that can help you find these types of stocks, but you're hoping for a big home run because you're going to strike out a lot more than you gain profit in these individual positions. Generally speaking, it's like riding a roller coaster. You're going to have ups and downs, and you're hoping that your ups are going to be a lot more significant than your downs. So you sort of enjoy the thrill. You're sort of a thrill seeker and enjoy that volatility and enjoy that, that sort of mentality. As we move up from speculative, we come to the aggressive portion of the matrix. And aggressive, the one nice thing that you have driving for you here is that you are seeking high upside potential. So generally speaking, if you're an aggressive investor, we want high RV, and the higher the better. The one thing that you're willing to give up on just a bit, you may not want to throw it out of the equation altogether, but the one thing you're willing to give up just a bit on is the RS, the relative safety. Okay, so generally we'd classify that as being below 1. But we're really talking in essence of you're willing to assume a little bit of risk to get high potential rewards. Does that make sense? Now, as we move to the left, we come to the prudent quadrant. And I probably should have saved this for last. But prudent we would classify with a statement of it's the best of both worlds. If you're a prudent investor, you're after high upside potential, and you want to achieve that high upside potential with some safety to boot. You want both of those in play. And so if you're a prudent investor, you're seeking to outperform the sum of inflation and interest and hopefully have some modest gains on top of that. And so it's really a very attractive investment style is the prudent investor. Below prudent, we have conservative. And I mentioned earlier that conservative investors, capital preservation is king. Capital preservation. You are most concerned with the safety element. And these are going to be typically low growth stocks that should have small gains over the long term, but that also pay a nice dividend and would be good covered call candidates. Everybody realizes we're teaching an options course here on Saturday, right? If you're somebody that is concerned about retirement, I encourage you to come to that course. You will see the best technique Dr. Bart and I have ever seen, certainly, that will set you up for the lifestyle of your dreams. And it's by use of covered calls. And so conservative stocks are also great candidates for something we call the payday portfolio that you'll learn quite a bit about on Saturday. Okay? So hopefully this will detail for you. Hopefully you were thinking about the statements as we were going through the matrix and placing yourself according to your own specific risk-reward profile. What are you truly after? And sometimes you just got to sit down and think it through. But certainly we can cater to any of the investment styles listed. And we even have certain situations where it kind of rubs two of the different investment styles as well. So we'll talk more about that as we roll along. On the next slide, perhaps one of my most favorite slides of all time, because the first statement is very bold and brash, is it not? But it's also accurate. Thank you very much. It says here that unisearch is the most powerful search engine ever created by man. And listen, I've gone to all the trade shows. I've done a lot of competitive analysis. I've traveled as far as Hong Kong to some of these trade shows. I have never seen a more powerful and easy to use search tool than the one that we have right here at your fingertips in VectorVest 7. It does not exist. This is the best and most powerful one that you're ever going to see. Has anybody ever heard the term easy language before? How easy is it? Not easy. Yeah, you need a PhD in mathematics just to learn how to operate it, right? And you got to know a little computer programming. There are some very powerful tools that are out there, but when we talk about powerful and ease of use, faster, smarter, better, we're talking about VectorVest 7 and what we call the unisearch tool. All right, so let's go ahead. It says here that in our search directory, strategies can be selected alphabetically or by group. And I got to tell you, when you're brand new to VectorVest, odds are you're going to watch some of our Strategy of the Week tutorials. You're going to see some of the commentary in the newsletter called the VectorVest Views that refers to certain strategies. What you're going to want to do is get right into the search tool and sort alphabetically. It's the easiest way to find them. So that's the first thing we're going to do is get into this tool, show you how we identify searches by category, by investment style, and then we're going to take a look at how to alphabetize the list to find our favorites. Let's go right on over to VectorVest 7. So here we are at our home page. To access the search tool, I simply come up to the main toolbar, and we're going to click on Unisearch. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see a number of yellow folders. Right now, we are categorizing all of the searches into one of these folders. And so if I know that I'm an aggressive investor or trader, one of the best things for me to do right here is come down to the yellow folder that says Strategies Aggressive. I can simply click on the folder, and then I can see the searches contained within. Since there is something like 300 plus searches in the search tool at this point, one of the things that you got to figure out straight away is, am I dealing with a bullish search or a bearish search? Am I looking for long positions or positions that make money when stock prices fall? So over here on the left, we'll see that next to the vast majority of these searches, it's going to say bullish. Okay? If you click on the aggressive strategy, let's go ahead and click that. If you click on any strategy, it's going to then list the criteria for the scan, the criteria for the search. And what's one thing that we can pick out from this criteria straight away? Have we seen it before? Sure we have. Look at the first two lines of criteria. It matches exactly the investment matrix that we saw moments ago. And so this search cares much more about RV, capital appreciation, than it does about safety. If that scares you, what you do is you move on to a different category. If it's something that's right up your alley, then you can click on Run Search at the top, and it will produce a list of results. Now, the other parts of the search that you can see here on your screen is we're looking for stock prices to be greater than or equal to $1. We're looking for average volume to be greater than or equal to 100,000. And we made it what's called Derby ready. We have our new tool called the VectorVest Derby. I say new, it's been out for some time now that you'll get a chance to see tomorrow. But what we said here in the next two lines is that the stock industry group cannot be equal to ETFs short. These are the contra funds that make money when stock prices fall or go down. Okay? This is a bullish search, so you wouldn't want those ETFs available to you here. We also indicate that the exchange cannot be equal to indexes, optionable indexes, or pink sheets. Anybody here still trade pink sheets, just out of curiosity? Okay. I didn't figure that this was the crowd for that. A pink sheet, they used to actually exchange paper. And I think they still may even do some of that today. But you could only trade it once, twice a day. And it was actual paper transactions. And still was up to even just a few years ago, last time I checked on it. So it's a very unique situation. We're used to the electronic trading now, yeah? So pink sheets are not part of that, by and large. Now, this is a great example of how we've categorized it by the different groups. We have aggressive. If we close the aggressive strategies up, we'll also see the other investment styles that we mentioned. We'll have conservative, prudent, and even speculative, just a few more folders down. So, if I am looking for a particular search, and let's say that I am looking for my search, what I can do is I can alphabetize the list. And so I can come up just above the searches, the folders, and there's a button there that says A to Z. When you click that button, bang. Now we're sorted first numerically and then alphabetically. Okay? If I want to find Chappell's Champs, all I have to do now is I can do it two ways. I'm going to give you the slow way and I'm going to show you how you can speed it up. I could have Brian scroll all the way down until he finds it. The other thing I could have Brian do is click on any search that's there, and what letter of the alphabet does Chappell's Champs start with? C. C, okay? So he can click C on his keyboard, and it will take him to the C section with the first search that starts out with the letter C. And so then I just got a moderate amount of scrolling to do, and I can find Chappell's Champs. Now, leave your mouse right where it is, because that's where I was headed next, and that's perfect. Whenever you hover your cursor over a search name, it will then indicate to you what group that search resides in. So if I was looking at the views and saw, hey, Chappell's Champs is something that's really popping right now, when I go find it, now I know, without having to look by folder, I know that it's a prudent style search. So that can be important to you, okay? When I have him click on Chappell's Champs, it'll then display the criteria. And so what you have done so far at the top of page 3 is that we have gone through the process of selecting strategy groups, gone through the process of selecting a strategy. It's as easy as clicking on the name. We have, and are going to hear in just a bit, run a strategy by clicking the Run Search button just above it. And then we have a very powerful tool called Quick Test that's going to allow us to measure performance. And that's incredibly important when you go back and look at historical evidence of how well searches have behaved in the past. Now, I'm waiting for the question, because that's usually right when it pops up. But now is not the past. I can tell you firsthand that doing some research pays off, okay? And what I mean by this, I liken what's called backtesting, looking at historical performance, to, I try to relate it to sports, because I relate just about everything back to sports. I was an athlete growing up. But it's like a coach studying game film. He's not trying to determine exactly what the opposing team is going to do, but what is he doing, or she? They're determining the likelihood of what is going to happen. They're determining the subtleties to the offense, things that tend to occur time and time and time again. Knowing that in a certain situation, if it's worked 3 times in the past for that team, it's likely to work the next time, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Does that make sense to you? So testing performance of strategies is incredibly important, and that's going to take us to our first case study at the bottom of page 3, which is titled Using Unisearch, and we're going to look at a prudent strategy. That strategy happens to be the one that we have right up on our screen now. And what I need to do first is change the date back. Here's where the back testing comes into play. So I'm going to have our mouser click right on the date. There's a box here just to the right of Run Search. When you click that date box, you're presented with a new window. In this window, there's a couple of nice ways to maneuver around. One way is to use the arrows top left and top right, and I can go back or forward a month at a time. Now, as badly as you want, we can't take it forward from where we are now. We can't predict the future. We still haven't got that platform yet. But we can go back. We can go back. So we're going to go back to the month of September. So he's just going to click the mouse a few times. You can also click directly on the month or the year if you need to go back much further and much faster. Now, there is one date in this box that's identified by a green square. And that is the result of what was a confirmed call. So I'm sure everybody was listening to Dr. D's presentation on market timing, and this would have been a result historically of one of our more recent confirmed up periods. I also have a little tab to the right of the date box, and if we click there, I can pull that out and then choose from several of the timing systems that have been discussed or will be discussed over the course of these 2 days. Right now it's set to confirm calls, and if you click the drop down, we could select primary wave, which is dealing with week over week VVC price movement, the DEW, which is a technical analysis timing model that you'll see more in depth tomorrow, and even the green light buyer that Brian D'Amico is going to close today's sessions with. If you click green light buyer, we will see a lot more squares active in the month of September. See, there's a lot more timing decisions involved with that timing mechanism. If we're going to use a prudent strategy, one thing that we have to consider is how often we want to be trading. In many cases, and actually in most cases, if not all, you want to match your strategy selection, say a prudent investor, to a timing model that's going to best suit that investment temperament. And if we're dealing with prudent stocks, they're going to give us some nice gains, but they're going to be steady movers, right? So they need time. They need time on their side to really mature in price. So we're going to change it back to confirmed calls, and that's one of the best timing model. It's the best timing model for prudent to conservative types of investors. It's going to keep you on the right side of the market more often than not, and that's all you need to make money with these kinds of strategies, okay? So what you can do then, once that list is selected, I can click on any of these dates, either ups or downs, and it'll take me right to that date on the calendar. So it's quicker. So Brian, if you click on the 9/9/2010, it takes me right to where I want to go. Now I could have done that from current date, okay, and it would have been a lot faster. Let's go ahead and click on OK at the bottom, and that's going to lock that September 9 date into the search tool. You see that at the top? It locked it right in there. Now, when we go back, historically, we're working off the close. So we'll be working off the closing values in this particular instance. Let's talk about Chappell's Champs. We're going to run it on 9/9 because we had a confirmed call. And let's see the call first, actually, just to reiterate what we're looking at. We're going to click on Graphs, the Graphs tab. One nice feature of this tool, you're going to see how when we come back to unisearch, it's locked in there exactly the same way we left it. Faster, smarter, better, okay? When we click on Graphs, we can then take a look at our market timing graph. I'm going to have you switch the layout here. Let's click the down arrow, and let's go to the VectorVest MTI layout. Perfect. All right, now, let's go back and find that date. Now, one thing I noticed straight away, we have quite a bit of gaps here between the bars. I'm in a weekly or an end of week format. We're going to switch that back to daily. So we'll go to end of day, and let's go to 1 year, Brian. Perfect. Now we're going to find it a lot easier. So what I'm going to have Brian do, we're going to work off this September bottom. Let's try to identify the 9th as best we can. So we're going to click right here, and I look at the bottom, and we're at 9/9 right here. Okay, so this was the date of our confirmed up call. If I want to see that call exactly as it occurred by the use of the triangles, I just come down here and click on Confirm Calls, and you'll see the green arrow right on that date that we're looking at. Does everybody see that? All right, now, we're going to just come to this bottom, left click and drag across, and we're going to stop right after that red down arrow. Okay? This way you can see it a little bit better in the back of the room. Was this a nice up market? You betcha. So are those calls any good? Hey, they got you on the right side of the market, didn't they? Now let's see if we match our investment temperament to this market, being a prudent investor, how well we could have done. So we'll go back to the unisearch tool, and now we can run our search on that date. As he runs the search, I'm going to begin to explain the search to you very quickly, but in enough detail. First line says that we're looking at only the top 100 stocks by VST. So instead of searching on all 8,000 stocks that make up, over 8,000, that make up our entire database, we're focusing purely on the top 100, cream of the crop by VST Vector. Okay? Makes a lot of good sense for a prudent investor, does it not? Next, we have the average volume. That has to be at least 100,000, so we've got some liquidity to work with. We want at least a $10 price, so stock price greater than 10 bucks. We want to make sure that it's Derby ready, of course, and that's so that we can use it in the Derby tool. And we've gone through that already. One key component to this search, however, or any search, is what's called the sort. Anybody ever play cards? When you apply a sort to a search, what you're trying to do is deal yourself the highest poker hand that's possible. And you want it right at the top of the list because those are the stocks that you're going to be buying. And so the sort's goal is to accomplish that. Put the best ones available at the top. Here we're looking for stocks that not only have high VST, they also have high CI. And did we learn what CI is in the seminar? It's comfort index. Layman's terms, you're looking for what's known as price growth persistence. Essentially, that means you're looking for stocks that go up more than they go down. Okay? And what are we going to look at to boot? We want a nice high growth rate. So the stock that exhibits the best quality of those three factors is the stock that's right up at the top of that list, and that is Allied Gold, ANV. All that's left to do is see how well these babies perform. So the way to put that to the test is through the quick test tool that we mentioned. So what we're going to do is click on our local bar up here at the top. We'll hit this down arrow, and we'll go to quick test the top 10. When we do that, our quick test performance will appear. And I can quick test it. Initially, it's going to quick test it all the way up to what is the most recent time. And since we're dealing with real-time data now, that brings us not only up to April 7th, but all the way up to 2 p.m., 2:03. Okay? How have they done so far? Well, they're up 43%. How is that possible? Let's take a look. Well, we can sort these returns by percent price change. So we'll click that column header. And this is looking at it just like if you would have bought and held a portfolio basket of stocks, okay? So the one at the top, Silver Wheaton, it's been a great stock for this silver run. It went from 23 bucks and 25 cents all the way up to 45.55 on a current basis. So that's going to be a 95% increase from September 9th to now, and that's going to equate to an annualized rate of return of 166%. Is that doing a pretty good job? Don't get too confused that if you're a prudent investor, you can't see some giant gains. If you get a nice long run in the market, that's exactly what you're likely to see, okay? RES went from 12 bucks to 23. ANV went from 24 to 39. Are we getting some pretty good performance there? More importantly, well, another thing that our objective is to outperform market performance, right? I don't want to sit around and underperform the market unless I'm conservative, and preservation is king. But here we can see that the Dow Jones Industrials has gone up 18.78% over that same time frame. What we're going to do is switch that to the VVC. And when he typed in the symbol and then hits enter, we'll see exactly what we want to see. I not only want to see how these stocks perform compared to 30 stocks, I want to see how these stocks perform compared to the average stock of all the stocks that we track. Does that make sense? Okay, and so here the average stock in the database went up 22%. Did we underperform or overperform the market? We outperformed, I should say. Now, we did receive a down signal recently, did we not? So when you're doing your testing, you don't just want to always bring everything up to current. You want to test it over the good period. And that good period ended March the 14th. So we'll come right up to this box at the top where it has the dates. And we're going to back that down to March the 14th. So we'll come down to our end date. We'll go back 1 month and click on the red square, which is the confirmed down. When he does that, we'll click on OK at the bottom. And then we do need to hit this button up here next to stream that says run test. So when we do that, bam. Over that confirmed up to the confirmed down, no money management, Chappell's Champs went up 32%. The market was up 17. Not too shabby. We doubled market performance. You're looking at a service, the only one that I'm aware of, that tells you when to buy, what to buy, and when to sell, and gets it right. And you say, well, you just picked Chappell's Champs. That's your search, buddy. You know a lot about that one. So lucky for you, lucky for you, I'm going to show you a situation on how you can find out any day what the best searches to use are and make sure that they match your investment temperament. We're getting there. Next thing I want to do is show you some of the special tools. Let's go ahead and close that up. Let's go back into the PowerPoint. We'll go forward to the one that says Special Tools. We're going to be talking about trends, high-lows, and deltas. These can be some very, very powerful searches indeed. We're going to start with trend. A trend search is a pattern recognition search. I can look for situations where a stock price has been falling, consistently on the rise. I can look for V-shaped patterns, whatever kind of pattern it is you're interested in. We're going to show you, I think, one of the better searches that I've seen over the years in there. And it's a pattern using our buy, sell, hold recommendations. And Todd's going to come up in the next talk and show you how to make this performance that you're going to see here even better. Sound like a good deal? All right, so let's move ahead. After trends, we're going to get to a high-low search. We can look for stocks hitting new highs or new lows over just about any specified period in time. And we can look at deltas. Delta is very much like a quick test. You're dealing with magnitude of change. All right? It's a mathematic term, but you're looking at magnitude of change. And so we can do some special things with delta as well, and you'll get to see that. Let's go ahead. So let's start with a trend. We're going to look at that same date, so there's no need to rehash that. It's a confirmed up call. And we're going to look for the pattern of a stock who is not a buy, day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, day 5 and day 6 ago, but has been a buy for the last 4 consecutive days. Sounds like an interesting search, right? You have a situation where the stock is transitioning from a hold or a sell into a persistent buy. So let's get in there and find it and take a look at it. We'll go right back over to VectorVest 7. And I'm going to switch it back to category just for sake of navigation for me. It's real easy. I know exactly where she is. We're going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to go to trends, bottom fishing. There she is. And the first search that we see there right at the top is the exact one we mentioned. Let's go ahead and click that, Brian. Right here, we have the same pattern that we see displayed across the top line of criteria for the search. So we're dealing with stock recommendation, trending to a certain pattern, and it's the same pattern. We see it's a daily pattern, so we're looking at end-of-day information, and we're looking at the fact that a stock was either a hold or a sell on the first 2 days, but has become a buy for the last 4 in a row. We want a growth rate greater than 0. That means we want some growth rate. Any growth rate will do. Our average volume is greater than 100,000. Our stock price will be greater than $1, and again, it's Derby ready. The sort here is a very attractive sort as well. The sort here is VST divided by actual price. So in this particular case, you're looking for a high VST to a relatively low price. You're going to find some really low price stocks gravitate towards the top of the search. Let's go ahead and run it as of 9/9. And here will be our list of candidates. Let's go ahead and click on SMTX to select it. I want you to right-click on it. From our right-click menu, we can view historical data because I want to show that pattern to you. Okay? When he clicks that, initially what's going to pop up here is going to be minute data. And this is going to be new to some of you. But you can actually see then when a stock becomes a certain recommendation at a certain minute throughout the day for the last 5 days. okay? Once you get outside of the 5-day window, you're dealing with end-of-day data. There is more data in that 5-day window than there is in all of the end-of-day history going back to 1996, okay? There will come a day where that's not the case, but it is now. If I want to go back and see where we were, I can't use the minute data. So I'm going to have Brian click where it says intraday and change that to end of day. And we'll go right back and identify September the 9th of 2010. So we're going to come over to the right and scroll down till we see that appear. And so we know we need to see some buys. Here we are. And we have a stock that right through here, we can see even further transition. But we're only going to comment on the last 6 days. We needed 4 straight buys, and it could be either a hold or a sell the 2 days prior. We have our 4 buys, do we not? And what was it the 2 days prior to that pattern? It was a hold. So it certainly meets the criteria of the search. This is a stock that's becoming a new buy, and a persistent one. Sounds like a pretty good deal. Let's go ahead and close this window out and see how they perform. So we've run the search. All we need to do now is quick test. We'll come right back up, hit our down arrow, and click on quick test the top 10. And we are going to go forward to March the 14th because that was the confirmed down call. Okay? So we'll click that date box. We'll go back 1 month, click on the same red date on the calendar. That's your confirmed down on the 14th. Click OK at the bottom. And let's run the test. All right, not too shabby. Wow, look at that one. Let's sort this by percent price change. We had one stock in here, HOC. It's doubled, over doubled. It's gone from 27.59 to 56.83. The interesting thing about these returns is we do have some improvement that we could do, don't you think, to the returns here? And so Todd's going to show you how you can double this performance by doing a little bit more testing, and that's going to come in the very next talk. Let's go ahead and close that out, and we'll move on to our next variety of search. That search is going to be a new high, and I should ask you this up front, but how many people have read The Little Green Book by Dr. Dolittle? Okay, how many people really read it? All right. In that book, he has the concept of the search that we're going to illustrate next, teeny boppers. This is a great little search, great little search. And what we're going to do here is identify a new situation. We're going to look at September 1st, 2010, when we received the first green light in the price column of the color guard. Remember Brian talked about that this morning? This is the first green light after we had the confirmed down call. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? And so if we go over to the platform, let's just illustrate it real quick. And this will apply to the next 2 strategies. We'll click on Views at the top. That gives us access to our investment newsletter. Very powerful indeed. And let's go back to September. Let's go back to, say, September the 9th, Brian. That'll be a good date. We're really looking for the 1st, but we're going to go back to September. We'll click on 9 and click on OK. And I'm going to have him scroll down. We have a historical color guard that we can pull up in the views. And so here we can see 3 weeks worth of history. And what do you see happening to the market analysis over this period of time? We see a market that was getting hit pretty good with all the red lights at the bottom with some yellows mixed in. Now we see more and more green lights beginning to appear. But on the 1st, September 1st, we had the very first one. And that's always going to be the best one. That's going to be the one you want to pick out. This is the first one after that nice downdraft in the market. So let's go back into the search tool. We'll go back up to the top and click on unisearch. And then here, we'll change our strategy. And what does it say in your books? We're going to look for teeny boppers. So if we don't know where it is, we can alphabetize the list. Let's click that here at the top. It's in strategies, price, volume, but I'm still going to have them alphabetize it. And we'll click on that search, and we'll hit T on the keyboard. That'll take us to the T section and right to teeny boppers. Very easy to access. We do need to change our date to what? September 1st. So we're getting in a little bit earlier with that first green light. Now that first green light is also important for another reason. That's the first time price has been up 2 weeks in a row. See, it had to turn yellow before it turned green, which is the preliminary signal of a sustainable trend. So this is a prudent decision to get into the market, okay? When we take a look at the scan, we're going to look for stock prices between $1 and $5. If that scares some of you, don't use it. You are looking for some little guys here, hence the name teeny boppers. We look for a little less volume here as well. We want to find some stocks that are flying under the radar. So we're looking for at least 25,000 average. The kicker for the high-low function, we're going to look for stocks that are hitting a 26-week high, and we're using end-of-week data. That means we're only looking at the week, the Friday of each week, okay? End-of-week data. We also have this thing Derby ready, and we're using the same sort. We're looking for higher VST and lower prices. So not only are we in the $1 to $5 range, but we're really going to be picking the ones that are closer to $1 in most cases. Let's go ahead and run the search. All right, here we go. We've got Vision Sciences, All Madden Minerals, AVI Biofarm, and so on. Okay? If we look at the prices on some of these stocks, here you got one that's $1.42, $2.14, $2.15, all right, hence teeny. But you can have some fun. You can have some great fun with these. What is one nice thing, just from the search criteria, that all of these stocks are doing? They're hitting a new high. So it's too late, right? Listen, those are exactly the kind of stocks you want to buy. The company has to be doing something right for that stock to be hitting a new high. And we decided, Dr. D decided he didn't want to wait 52 weeks anymore. He was happy with the 26-week high for these little guys. Okay? So here they are. They're hitting new highs. They're low priced. They're flying under the radar. Let's see how well they do. We'll go right up to the top, hit our drop-down arrow, and we're going to click on Quick Test the Top 10. And let's take this forward to March the 14th. So we click on our date box. We come down to the end date calendar. We go back a month, click on 14. Hit OK at the bottom, and then run test. Whoa. I don't hear any oohs and ahs. And I got a problem with that. Now, I got to tell you something. Sort this by percent price change. Bing, bing. Look at those two stocks up there at the top. 144%, 135, 70, 64, 40. And nobody's excited about that. This is a great, what is it? It's past. It's likely to happen again. It's likely to happen again. All right? That's why we do this. It's likely to happen again. Now, yeah, the past is prologue. Very, very eloquently said, sir. We have a slide that says that, actually. But what we've seen historically is likely to happen. It's not a certainty. But if you go back and you test 3, 4, 5, 10 turns, test as many as it takes till you're happy, and it makes money every time, what's it likely to do the next time? Likely. Go up. You got it. Let's go ahead and close that out. The last one is potentially my favorite one that I'm going to show. This is going to have a delta function in it. Now, we had the subject of IBD come up earlier on today, and I believe Dr. DeLito was fielding the question. Anybody ever heard of CanSlim? This is going to get you almost 100% of the way there with just one click of the mouse. Anybody interested now? All right, here we go. We're going to use that same date when we had the first green light in the price column of the color guard after the confirm down. And we're going to use explosive EPS stocks 2. And here are the steps. We're going to find it on the unisearch tab, and we're going to go back and run it and do our case study. So let's go back over to the program. And over here on the left, we're alphabetized, so I'm just going to have him hit E on the keyboard after he's selected a search. That just reactivates that little pane. Okay? That'll take us to E in the alphabet. Now we just find explosive EPS stocks 2, which is in the Delta Searches stocks folder. Okay? Nice little search here. Now it's also going to pick out some little guys most often. We're looking for stock prices to be greater than $1, recommendation to be equal to a buy. Do we like that attribute? Sure. Stock volume to be greater than 100,000. And here's the delta. Here's the special tool. We're looking for the EPS to have increased by at least 25% over the last 13 weeks. If earnings is increasing in this last quarter by at least 25%, what is price likely to do? It's likely to go up. You got it. So all the concepts that we've been talking about this morning, very easy to accomplish in the search tool that we have. Now, on any of these criteria, you can click, say, in that value box where it says 13-week, greater than 25, and you can customize this to your liking. If you want to see something exploding in the last 5 days, you can do that. You know, you simply dial it down from 13 to 5, and we don't need to do it for the purposes of our case study. But you get the idea. All these trends, all these high-lows, all these deltas, you can customize to what you want them to be. Now, when you're brand new, I suggest you stick with what's in there. These searches have been tested. Many of them are from subscribers just like yourselves, and they've been put through the ringer. So get acquainted with VectorVest first, but then I can show you here in a bit how you can customize your own strategies. All right, let's go ahead and click on OK at the bottom. And let's go ahead and run our search. And if I don't get a charge out of you this time, it's never going to happen. And we have our list at the bottom. Look at the prices here. Now, they're even lower. I will tell you that this search can pick some higher price stocks from time to time, though. I've seen $9, $12, $20 stocks in there, no problem at times. Okay? Let's go ahead and quick test it, though. We'll click on the down arrow, quick test the top 10. And let's dial that back to March the 14th. So up to now, they're up 87%. Let's see what happens when we go back to the 14th of March. So we got to click Run Test at the top. Market went up 24%. These stocks went up 113. That's better. Now you're just toying with me. No, that's great. And you know what? For some of you, this is the kind of performance you're after. Now, would this be a prudent investor? Is this a conservative investor? No. This is not capital preservation is king. This is not even necessarily best of both worlds. Consider the price points of the stocks you're dealing with. But if you're an aggressive investor, this may be exactly your cup of tea. Okay? You want those high explosive capital appreciation gains. Now, we've got searches in here that can find explosive stocks at higher prices than this. But this is one of the better aggressive strategies that we've had year after year after year. It's a great search. It really is. And hopefully you enjoyed that little demonstration there. We got one stock in here. Look at that baby. What is that? KVA? It went from $1.52 up to $10.30, 578% increase in just months. The main driver to get it to be able to do that was what? Earnings. Okay? DEPO went up 137%. Up at the top, URZ went up 160. Did we get it all in one stock? No, we got a lot of stocks in there that exploded. That is a great little search. Looking for explosive earnings that can give you some explosive profit. All right, now let's go ahead and close this up. I want to show a brief demonstration on how you can create strategies on your own, because you can do it. Okay? And so let's go back to the search tool. And over here on the left, we are going to click on a new search button. When you do that, it clears out the criteria, and I've got one I want to build here. And it may look familiar to some of you. It looks familiar to me, but it's got some differences. If I want to create a new line, I don't necessarily have to start right in date and time, although I could. If I wanted to pick some relative date in the past, hit the drop-down, click right in the box. I could look for a certain pattern 10 minutes ago, or I could look for a stock hitting a new high 10 minutes ago, or a certain situation. But in most cases, you're not going to get into that. That's for more sophisticated types of VectorVest users. And frankly, this thing's plenty powerful without it. But click back on time of search. That means when I run this, whatever time it is, you're looking for this piece of criteria to exist. And so if you click in that box for parameter, you'll get a drop-down. And I can pick criteria for either stocks, industries, or sectors. So if I want to layer a search, and I want the stocks to exhibit certain qualities, but I want the industries to exhibit certain qualities as well, I can do it right here and build it out. Okay? We're going to stick strictly in the stock realm to keep things simple. I don't want to get things too complicated on the first day while you're here. When we highlight stocks, we have a new menu that appears to the right, and we can slide over there, and we're going to do price. So if we go to the price volume category, I get yet another slide that I can do to the left, and I'm going to go down to price actual. When we click on price actual, it loads it in there. This just ensures that whenever I run this search historically, I'm getting actual pricing in case of stock splits and things like that. Okay? Operator, we'll click there. We want that to be, say, greater than or equal to in this case. There's a lot more selections. We're going to keep it simple. Let's just do that. In the value box, we can click there, and I can select a custom value at the top of that, and we'll type in a 5. Is that reasonable? $5? That's reasonable for most. If it's not, and this is your strategy, and you won't buy anything less than 20, if you've ever read Cooper, some of these other guys, it's $30, put it in there. You know, it's up to you. Click in the parameter box just below stock price, and we're going to put in some average volume. I think every search you run ought to have some price information that you're comfortable with, and ought to have some volume, liquidity information that you're comfortable with. If you click in that box, we're going to go to stocks, price and volume again, and this time we're going to select average volume. Average volume deals with a 50-day moving average. So you're not just looking at one date, you're looking at 50 days to make sure that you're hitting that threshold. We're going to go to operator, select greater than or equal to. We'll go to value, click on custom value, and type in 250,000. Because I went a little lower in price, I went a little higher on average volume. Okay? If we click in the parameter box below average volume, we can make this derby ready. Okay? And so I'm going to do it in a little different way. It's just a way that I've been familiar with for years. It'll give us basically the same thing. I'm going to click in the next box, go to stocks, filter by. Now in filter by, I can exclude or include certain things. In this case, we're going to exclude contra ETFs because they go up in price when stocks go down. This is a bullish search, so we're going to get rid of them. So we'll click right on industry group. We'll go to operator. We're going to select not equal to from the drop-down. We'll click in value. We'll go to selected industries, and we will go scroll down to ETFs and identify ETFs short, which is right here on the list. That gets rid of the contra funds. Okay? Nice piece of criteria for bullish searches. Let's go ahead and click on OK. And now we will filter by yet a couple other things. In this case, we're going to go to stocks, filter by exchange. A lot of us didn't like the idea of pink sheets, so we could certainly filter those out. But I'm going to take it one step further. Let's click on equal to. Click in value. And I'm going to have him only do optionable stocks and only the major exchanges. So we're going to do options American, options NASDAQ, and options New York. That means we have no pink sheets. We have no indexes. We don't even have plain stocks if they don't trade options. What might be a rationale for that? A little bit more trading involved on the stocks. Okay? They're going to bounce around a little bit more on the whole. Yeah, I think you could say as a general statement. Click on OK. And we're going to change the sort. So we'll go right up there to the top. And I'm about to open up Pandora's box. But when you click that, there's going to be a whole host of different sorts that are available in here. And this is when you're new, you stick to VST. Okay? But when we click this down arrow, I'm going to put the Chappell's Champ sort on there. We're going to go to VST times CI times growth rate. You remember that one? All right, let's see how some of these stocks do when we start talking broad market. Click on that and click on OK. We're going to run it on that same date. And let's see what we get. All right, we have some very similar ones, but let's see how we do. Let's do our quick test, Brian. Click the down arrow, go to quick test the top 10, and we'll run it up to 314. All the way to now, it's up 75%. That's not too bad. And let's go back to March and go to the 14th and click on OK at the bottom and run test. 62% to the market, 18.93. Sweet, I like that. That was a good comment. Look at the performance here. Do we have a loser in the bunch? Not a one. It's going to be hard for Todd to improve that one, so we're not going to make him do that. That one's doing pretty good. The worst stock in here has gone up 30%. And so here's the thing. Is this as prudent of a search as Chappell's Champs is as a whole? And it's not. You know, you're getting into situations here where you have some stocks that are at much lower prices than the Chappell's Champs are usually going to find for you. But I wanted to at least show you the navigation about how you can get in here and explore your own ideas. You can get in here and create anything under the sun. But again, if you're new, we got a lot of great searches in there. And if you want to know which ones are working well, all you got to do is close this, go to Views at the top of the screen on the tab. And every day in our commentary, we could bring this all the way up to now. Let's go all the way up to April the 7th, the 6th. Click OK. If you want to know where you want to start thinking about strategies that may work for you right now, if you scroll up there just a bit above the color guard, we always list our top Derby performers here every day. And I got to tell you something. There's always a lot of great opportunities right there. So you take the strategies, you go back over to the search tool, you alphabetize your list, and you can find some great winners. Then what you got to do is just make sure that some of these are suited to your investment style before you use it. Does that make sense? Pretty simple stuff. And the incredible thing about that, folks, is that it is that simple. It's that simple to be able to cater your investment styles or strategies to yourself. We have incredibly powerful special tools. We have strategies broken down by investment style. It's all there. And we give you the guidance on the strategies that are working the best right now. So thanks for spending the last hour with me. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Todd because I have more than taken up my time.